That's the
There are
King
lots of
steered.
YouTube compilations of Pat Sajak just going insane because of how stupid some of the contestants are on the show. It's something fun to look up this weekend if you need a laugh, because they're, it's the show is like notorious for it's
pretty obvious.
The phrase is very obvious. So they're like, I want to buy an E, and he's like, no, you don't.
Why would you do that? Well, and you can kind of tell, like, below the surface, he wants to help, but then you could see like that wave of like, this is not life and death. This is Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'm not solving world peace. Go ahead.
I'll sleep tonight.
I kind of missed the part where they used to be able to buy their prizes. Like after you got your money, they would have to look
furniture set that was
like
really bad.
Like everything that you didn't want. I'll take the porcelain, Datsun for $400.
And it was like on a carousel, like a
Yep.
It would turn.
And then you had to take a year's supply of green beans.
A literal altar to consumerism, where it's like pretty much.
Well, it was just another version of The Price is Right, in which they had these sponsored things that you had to like. Oh, what do you want to buy? $500 golf clubs,
turtle wax.
There was always turtle wax for some reason.
Which a year's supply of turtle wax, I think, is just one bottle.
One turtle wax.
Yeah.
One turtle's wax.
Yeah.
It's really just a turtle. You carve it out.
Elaine, would you like to read line 3 today?
Oh, sure.
Well, too bad. Not gonna let you.
Hold on.
That was a trick. That was a trick question. No, I would like you to read line 3. So
cool.
Is everybody feeling good?
I feel great.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Good? I'm doing good. Good. Roger.
Feeling good.
Yeah, I got to make sure I have the tunes ready.
Len, do you have your drawing fingers limbered up?
I've broken my fingers in anticipation.
Wow. Dedication. All right. Well, Roger, you just tell us when you're ready, and we'll just roll on Daily Tech News Show.
All right. I guess I'll leave it on Sarah. So, Sarah, I'll give you a 3 and 2. What?
Is that what you're doing right now? Or
yeah.
You're telling me what you're...
Yeah, I'll give you a countdown.
I'm like, we've done this like 100 times. So, okay.
3, 2.
Susanna Rankenberg has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Susanna. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, March 8th, 2019 in Austin, Texas. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
Springing forward from Cleveland, I'm Len Peralta.
And right out of the forehead of Tom, like Athena, I'm Brian Brushwood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Yes, you are. We have got a packed show. In fact, Justin Robert Young's probably going to drop by a little later because we've got a political statement on breaking up big tech from Senator Elizabeth Warren to get to. But let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Airbnb announced it has signed a deal to acquire Hotel Tonight, which curates bookings for boutique and independent hotels. The companies will operate as separate brands, but over time, Airbnb plans to integrate Hotel Tonight listings into the Airbnb platform.
Google advises Windows users to make sure they have the latest updates for both Windows 10 and the Chrome browser in order to protect themselves against a serious unpatched vulnerability that is being exploited in the wild. That's worth repeating. A lot of times we say, well, it's a vulnerability, you should patch it, but nobody's exploiting it. This one is being exploited. Google patched Chrome against itself like last Friday, but you'll need to restart the browser to apply that patch if you haven't restarted your browser since Friday. Windows may still be vulnerable to this bug, though the vulnerability has only been observed being used against Windows 7 32-bit systems. So make sure you've got Windows 10 and you're patched and your Chrome is patched and you should be fine.
Is that an intentional withholding of the details so as not to give anybody ideas, like whether it's a financial exploit or an encryption?
No, there's more details. I just didn't write them because this is a quick part of the show.
Got it. Good thing I slowed it down so we can know that.
Thank you.
Microsoft began rolling out updates to the Skype web client, so users running Chrome or Edge browsers on Windows 10 or Mac OS 10.12 Sierra or later will be able to get HD calling and call recording and view a revamped notification panel and access an advanced media gallery.
By the way, the vulnerability allows the attacker to break out of sandboxes. So if it's sandboxed as a process,
got it,
that you would normally like, well, that's safe. It's in the sandbox. They could break it out and then get into your system. All right, let's talk a little bit more about analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. You know him as the guy who is mostly right about Apple stuff. And in his latest analyst note, he says Apple will begin mass producing a new augmented reality glasses product as early as the end of this year. The product would be marketed as an iPhone accessory. So it would really just be a display and offload the computing and the networking wirelessly to your iPhone. Previous reporting from Bloomberg had said that Apple's AR device would run a custom operating system based on iOS called ROS for Reality Operating System. So that may be the thing that runs the display.
Well, it's not really augmented reality, but so often my iPhone is in a purse or my back pocket or whatever, and I don't know, let's say I'm listening to a song and I really like it, and maybe it's some Apple Music playlist. I gotta get my phone out and look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's who it is. It's T-Pain or something. Like, I could see where having something that was just in my peripheral vision that I could tap the way you would with an Apple Watch, but it would be on your face, would be something that I would want.
Yeah, I would love, I think it's inevitable that we're going to get this more low-level peripheral awareness of what's happening on other side of the world without lifting a finger. Right now we have it like, your watch buzzes and you could take a glance and be like, oh, we made a sale on the online store or whatever. But it's like, I could see that fidelity increasing where it's like, oh, no. All of your individual apps now have a touch tone where it's like one is a high whine and a low rumble. So you know which app is grabbing your attention and could choose to ignore it. Likewise with the AR stuff, just this always on. I think that the smart move is to increasingly preserve the one-on-one experience and be as to convey as much knowledge as possible without causing, as we have right now with the Apple Watch, you get a buzz, you put up your fist in between you and the person you're talking to, you look at it, and then you resume. I think they're trying to get away from that, and I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, it's another wearable platform for them, right? Like this will be a very good-looking pair of augmented reality glasses, I would guess, because it's coming from Apple, and that'll be their selling point. Like, don't wear the ones that look goofy, wear ours, because we didn't have to try to pack a whole computer in them. We know you have an iPhone, and it will unobtrusively do what you and Sarah are saying, like let you know the things that you need to know as you go through your day.
DoorDash changed its payment policy back in 2017 in a way that appears to keep back tips from drivers. DoorDash used to pay drivers a flat fee, no matter what the distance or complexity was in that ride. Under the new policy, DoorDash guarantees an amount for the driver based on the distance and complexity. However, a customer tip may not raise that amount since DoorDash can decide to include all or part of the tip in the guaranteed amount it pays the driver. So the company says it never reduces the amount a driver would get because of a tip. Well, that's comforting. Only raises it. However, some drivers filed a class action lawsuit claiming that the company is redirecting tips into the company's share.
So if I could try to understand this, I think what they're saying is we used to pay every driver $5, whether they were going 20 miles or 2 miles. And then whatever the tip was $2. They kept $2. Now what we're saying is, oh, if you're going 20 miles, we'll pay you $10 guaranteed. It won't be less than that. And if someone tips $1, DoorDash may go, well, before you would have only made $5. So we're going to count that dollar as part of the 10. And that's what the drivers are objecting to. They're like, no. We like that you're guaranteeing us more money for longer trips. We don't like you counting the tip as part of that extra money.
Yeah, the shared tip jars are not an unusual scheme, right? And tipping is really, for me, problematic because as a hardcore anarcho-capitalist, like I love more freedom and the entrepreneurial spirit of everybody trying to get a big tip. But on the flip side, I have to acknowledge that by the numbers, tipping is inherently racist, sexist, all the bad things. Having a scheme, I think, is a fine thing. What are the odds that this scheme is actually benefiting everybody more, but just it doesn't feel like it because, well, I got a $3 tip and only got 80 cents.
Yeah, I think it is benefiting everybody more. I believe DoorDash that, hey, we're paying drivers more now than we did before, or at least it's fairer because you get more if you go farther. But I think DoorDash is trying to hedge the cost of treating people better by saying, and the tips you'll still get more. The tips will just kind of help subsidize that cost. Maybe they couldn't offer a better system if they didn't include the tips, but it's just not something people like. They're like, look, if I got a tip, I should get the tip.
Right.
Well, tipping is so personal, right? If as a customer, if I tip an Uber driver, for example, it's like, they were really nice. We had a good conversation, give them a $5 tip, that sort of thing. Or at a restaurant or, anywhere that you tip. So as a customer, it's like, it's a little disconcerting to say, oh, well, the company could choose to give that wonderful person who brought me my food 0% of the tip that I gave.
It is one of those weird things where you can know for a fact and even believe for a fact that this policy serves the greater good and still not like it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give it to that guy.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is DoorDash probably incurs a cost of passing along a tip. So there could be an argument for them taking a small percentage of a tip. I don't think anybody would like that either. Right. So, all right. Bloomberg reports that Amazon has stopped regular orders of products from thousands of wholesalers, sometimes with no notice or explanation. Instead, Amazon is encouraging wholesalers to list those items directly on the Amazon marketplace themselves. That has the advantage for Amazon of shifting the cost of storing and shipping products to those vendors while letting Amazon continue to take a commission on the sales. In an emailed statement to Bloomberg, Amazon said, "We regularly review our selling partner relationships and may make changes when we see an opportunity to provide customers with improved selection, value, and convenience." So I don't think the controversy here is that Amazon decided to stop ordering shirts from somebody. That wouldn't be controversy at all. It's that this imaginary company that I'm making up was expecting an order of 500 shirts a week, and therefore they'd set up their supply chain to make sure they had 500 shirts a week. And then one day Amazon just didn't order those 500 shirts without giving them any warning. And now they're like, well, crap, I guess we can try to sell them directly, but we might not sell all 500. And we weren't set up for that. So it incurs a cost on us, et cetera, et cetera. And Amazon can basically say, well, too bad. You can not sell them on Amazon if you want to. Good luck with that.
Well, to me, the big moment is Amazon is encouraging wholesalers to list the items on Amazon's marketplace. For example, I wrote the Professional's Guide to Fire Eating, and for whatever reason, they don't want to keep 100 of them in stock. I guess space is at a premium. So what they do is every time one sells, they're like, send us one copy of the book, and then they pass it along. This sounds to me like they're just moving to, you know what, just let your book stay in our store, and eventually an order will come in. Don't even bother to send it to us. Just fulfill it yourself. And that way we don't have to hold anything.
Also, and that way we also don't have to pay you for all of those 500 shirts and store them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and as Amazon continues to roll out Amazon branded merchandise, back to that fictitious t-shirt company. Well, if Amazon has its own t-shirt line, it doesn't need to buy any of these t-shirts from the fictitious company, and it doesn't really care if that company sells its t-shirts or not going forward.
And Amazon is also doing the opposite of this with some of their partners, saying, oh no, you can't sell directly. We'll block you from that. We because it's in this case better for us to be the person who sells it, and so we're going to force you on it. Amazon is dictating terms all over the place as long as it benefits Amazon.
The city of Philadelphia has passed a law requiring almost all businesses to accept cash payments. Cash is back, everybody. Exception to the cash rule includes parking lots, online and phone transactions, retailers with a membership model, and companies that require a credit card deposit like a hotel or a rental car company. Businesses who violate the law after it comes into force, which is on July 1st, could face a fine of up to $2,000. Amazon believes that Amazon Go stores would be affected because you don't need to be a Prime member to shop there. And a similar New Jersey state bill is waiting on the governor's signature. Massachusetts has required cash acceptance for a while.
Yeah, so this is essentially the politicians saying, I didn't like that I went across the street to the coffee shop and I could use a credit card, but those 30% of my constituents who live below the poverty line couldn't get a cup of coffee because they didn't take cash there.
Yeah, and then I understand the impulse to do that, but then you run up into weird perverse complications. Like I would love to live in a society where somebody says, I make the best ramen in the world. All you have to do is show up. I don't even want any money at all. What I'm going to do is I run a live stream. You have to sing a song and freestyle rap of my choosing. I make money on advertising on the back end and you get soup. I would love to see more weird in the world, not less. And this feels like a restriction that would bum me out.
Yeah, I wonder if you don't take any payment, could you say, well, I mean, we're exempt?
Also, imagine how that looks like at tax time.
Yeah, right.
You know,
no
where you place value on somebody's one-time viral hit.
I wonder if this will take off. There's some similar legislation being considered in other parts of the United States, like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco. It is a temporary thing, though. I do believe personally that over the long term, and I don't know how long, 10, 20 years, whatever, we will develop a system that allows for cashless transactions that is useful by people of any socioeconomic class. So there'll just be a new way of doing it. But right now, we haven't got that system. And so the closest you can get is debit cards or temporary cash cards, but those have fees. And so it's a regressive tax in a sense, because if you don't have a lot of cash and you have to use these cards, then you end up having even less cash than before.
Keep in mind also, like the folks who need to rely the most on cash would be the disenfranchised. For example, let's say an abused housewife finally, gathers up $8,000 and just gets on the road because she's tired of being punched. I understand the impetus to go for that.
Yeah, I do too. And like I say, I think we'll have a system in the future that will still allow that to do that without cash. I think we'll have to. Cash is difficult. It is complicated, but we have to solve that. We have to figure out how to do that, whether it's blockchain, etc.
Yeah, but it's like the thing you're really buying by paying with cash is anonymity and a invisible transaction.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
Do you think we're going?
I'm not saying Bitcoin will be the thing. I'm not crazy like that. But Bitcoin is an example of a technology that can do that.
I mean,
come up with a better.
But isn't the whole point of blockchain that everybody can see every piece of it?
You can be anonymous on the blockchain. Everybody sees the transaction, but they don't necessarily know who made the transaction.
Okay.
I mean, the side benefit is you don't need power to use cash, right? You don't if you're in an area that is bereft of power at the immediate moment, or you're in some sort of natural disaster, earthquake. I mean, it's easier just to have cash on hand. I understand what Tom's saying, and I think they will have a system that might be in lieu of cash, but I think to suggest that there won't be a physical kind of system that people could just trade without.
I'm talking not about the disappearance of cash. That's for another show. I'm saying these laws that require cash may become untenable at some point, because there are places in Scandinavia that this law just couldn't work.
I do agree. Oftentimes, this does smell like a law that will only legislate what people have already figured out on their own, because the moment you make this, then they'll decide some other alternate currency is more popular anyway.
All right. If we have any quantum physicists in the audience, please listen to this and write in to help explain how good this is. But this is an attempt for us to bring some stories to you that aren't just Google announcing, Facebook announcing. The BBC has a report on a project called Gravity Pioneer that's been going on for a few years, but they've made some big progress in developing quantum gravity sensors, or gravimeters, that will be twice as sensitive and 10 times as fast as the current gravimeters. Right now, if you want to measure gravity, you have to put the sensor out. It's kind of bulky. It's kind of expensive. And then you have to go up there and move it. So let's say you're trying to sense if there's magma under a volcano. That could be dangerous because you have to go up there and move it around to get your reading. These quantum gravity sensors work by cooling rubidium atoms with lasers to just above absolute zero. The atoms are then propelled upward in a vacuum and measured as gravity pulls them back down. The gravimeters can be made on silicon wafers that are 10 times cheaper than the current non-quantum gravimeter models. Tiny fluctuations in gravity, like an empty mine shaft that's 5 meters down, could be detected. They would be able to detect things like magma chambers filling up below ground without having to go up and move it around. You could just leave it up there on the volcano and be able to tell, hey, the magma chamber is filling up. We better get people out of there because the volcano might be about to explode. It can also be used in military applications for things like detecting submarines. The big advance here, this research has been going on for years. The big advance is being able to make them work at these small, much more affordable levels.
That's huge. And as this goes to scale, really what we're doing is we're telling the continued story of knowing exactly what is happening on every inch of our planet, which does two things. Number one, makes me very proud for humanity and civilization. Number two, makes me want to get the hell off to Mars where nobody needs to know nothing about what I'm up to.
Well, unless you're living more than a meter below ground.
Sure. But keep in mind,
this,
you know, in terms of mining and resources,
Mhm.
like right now, we just have to keep digging until we hope we find something. Imagine if you already knew where everything is, you would be able to affect markets just by knowing where all the deposits are, whether or not you ever need to get around to go get them.
Think about this. Somebody put it this way in one of the articles I read. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about 1 meter below the surface of Earth.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Let's talk about a Medium post from U.S. presidential hopeful and Senator Elizabeth Warren. She posted a solution to big tech. She said, here's how we can break up big tech. She went through her explanation of why she thinks these companies, Facebook, Google, and Amazon particularly, are too big. They're too dominant in their markets, and we need new legislation that will break them up, and that will allow for more competition, more innovation. That's her argument. Her solution is to give $25 billion or more companies that bring in more than $25 billion, the following classification: platform utility. In other words, they offer to the public an online marketplace, an exchange, or a platform for connecting third parties. You're a platform utility. YouTube, platform utility. Google search, platform utility, right? Because you're allowing people to buy ads on search. You're allowing people to post videos on YouTube. If you qualify for that, which would be Amazon, which would be Facebook, which would be lots of Google stuff, you would be prohibited from owning both the platform utility and any participants on that platform. So Google search couldn't own the Google ads. YouTube couldn't actually make content for YouTube. Amazon wouldn't be able to own the platform for selling things and also sell things itself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In addition to that, you would have to provide fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory dealing with users, and you would not be allowed to transfer or share data with third parties, which could be difficult when you talk about ad targeting. We'll get into that. If you are between 90 million and 25 billion, you would only have to meet the fair, non-discriminatory user treatment standard. The examples that she gives as companies that would need to be broken apart are Google Ad Exchange, Google Search, Amazon Marketplace, Amazon Basics, Whole Foods, Zappos, WhatsApp, Instagram, Waze, Nest, and DoubleClick. Those are all named in her post. She also says we must give people more control over how their personal information is collected, shared, and sold. We should help content creators keep more of their value. I'm very much in favor of that one. And we should prevent election meddling. So that's the short version of what she's proposing. A lot of her justifications in here I find a little weaker than others, but we wanted to bring in the host of Politics, and our regular Thursday contributor, Justin Robert Young, to tell us a little bit on the side of why this might be happening in this election season we're starting in the U.S.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here. So there is a moment happening right now in politics, specifically with big tech, and it is kind of bipartisan. You've seen as Zuckerberg got grilled in Congress a few months ago that it was very much both parties that had questions about how they handle their censorship, how they make their money, and whether or not they are too big. Elizabeth Warren right now finds herself running anywhere between third and fourth, depending on the poll, in terms of the early 2020 primary polls, and she is in her lane behind Bernie Sanders, not only in terms of popularity and fundraising, but also ideologically, she is less defined than Bernie Sanders' platforms that have proven to be very catchy to that part of the electorate. So what she is now trying to do with this is show that she is the substantive progressive candidate. She has ideas, and these are the ideas that she is laying out. She's made it very clear that she doesn't think that it's rhetoric only. She needs to let everybody know what she would do. Now, we have long prophesized on the Daily Tech News Show that Washington was going to come for Silicon Valley at some point. This is its introduction into the presidential campaign cycle. How it will play is more of an open question.
Yeah, because I'm tempted to go in and dig in and say, look, Microsoft's not your best example when it's still one of the biggest companies. And you talk about Microsoft's antitrust settlement as being a good example, but they didn't actually break up Microsoft. And a lot of the effects you're saying came from that are arguably not from that. There's also the fact that you don't note AT&T and Comcast, which fit the profile of what she's talking about as well. There are other things I could pick on in this Medium post, but as you're talking about, Justin, I don't think this is meant to be taken word for word as a policy. It's meant to be taken as, I really know this topic. Look at all the links that I have.
I think she means for you to take it as a policy proposal.
Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think this is meant to be legislation yet. This is, here's what I want to do, folks. Vote for me.
By definition, she is a senator. She could put a bill together. She could put a bill together and push it in the Senate. She's not doing that. She is putting this out as a platform that she would try to work toward should she had the bully pulpit of the presidency. The question is, do people care about this? Just to give you a sense, this is being covered in a lot of the places where I like to take the temperature of the political news media. This has not made the front page of Politico.com, has not made the front page of TheHill.com. It has play on Axios.com, which pretty much makes its bread and butter on tech news and politics news.
Yeah,
so
right.
You would expect that it would get coverage there. So I don't quite know if it's getting buried on the Friday that she makes her big push about it behind the resignation of Bill Shine and a election reform bill that was passed in the House. I don't know exactly how much this is going to catch on.
In the Silicon Valley world, I wonder if companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook are forced to roll back the number of acquisitions that they make of smaller companies, how that changes venture capital for smaller companies. Because many times smaller companies, whether or not they end up getting gobbled up by these companies, hope that they will. The technology is good, and they need the money to make an idea into a reality.
Now, that is something that you believe, Sarah. It is not what Elizabeth Warren believes, who makes it clear that the reason why we are seeing less venture capital is not because of any kind of cyclical market, but rather because these companies are so big that they're discouraging companies from even starting. Now, I say that facetiously because I agree with you. I do think that venture capital almost universally flows into companies that they believe can get swallowed up by larger fish.
Also, in one of the articles that she links to in support of her contention that these big companies are reducing startups, I quote from the article, economists from MIT and the University of Chicago cite a lag between the launch of a new technology, such as artificial intelligence, and its visibility and productivity numbers. In other words, that article is arguing it's not because big tech companies are shouldering everybody out. It's that we're in a new cycle where the new technology that will cause a big wave of startups hasn't quite caught yet, but they believe it will.
Yeah.
Is this a case where she just ran with the wrong narrative? Because buried in that statement was, oh, and by the way, election meddling. I mean, wouldn't it have been if she is obviously not serious about making this legislation, otherwise she would have introduced it in Congress. She's definitely grandstanding on an issue, trying to create a boogeyman, pointing to a dead body and said, I'm the one that can fix it. Why not go completely direct and say Silicon Valley bigwigs are why we ended up with Trump? Here's how I plan to fix it. We're going to make them. They moved too fast. They were unprepared. They were able to be bought by outside interests for national security only. I plan to break them all apart so that can never happen again.
For this reason, that does not benefit her narrative as a candidate. Her narrative as a candidate, Elizabeth Warren, is the capitalist to her bones who knows that she needs to save capitalism from itself. And that part of that, this reinforces that now these big, famous companies that are making untold billions and trillions of dollars and are worth more than countries, if anything is going to get broke up, then it's them. They are Standard Oil. They are AT&T. They are these gigantic things that I'm the one who has to say you need to be broken up. If she goes after Trump and Russia, number one, you just enter into a gigantic other kerfuffle of mixed messages and moved goalposts in terms of what you eventually want out of that. And it doesn't get to these companies are too big point, which is what she really
they're
wants to
hurting
make.
competition, and
Yes.
what makes our economy work is competition. So by breaking up these companies, we'll have more competition.
We will have more competition.
That's what she hammered away.
And she makes it clear to say, look, everything will be fine. If I were to undo all these mergers and I were to break up all these companies and I were to impose all these rules, you'd still be able to do everything you love on these services. Now, whether or not that would be true, it involves you following the rabbit hole down possibilities. And
Mexico's going to pay for that wall. Yeah, guarantee it.
Look, we're going more into the granular detail on these things because Tom's right. If you go through every campaign promise and look for every little flaw in it, you're going to find many of them. Congratulations. If you're going to sniff that out, you're going to find a lot of truffles. That being said, this is significant in that this is the first time I can remember that a major presidential campaign has thought that tech is kitchen table retail politics enough to make a big deal about it. That your mom, your grandma knows what Amazon, Facebook, and Google are, and they might have negative feelings about them, and they would be moved to the ballot box if you said, we need to break them up.
All right, before we end this, one thing I want to note, and it's not necessarily just to pick on this Medium post, but because I know people are going to start passing this number around. She says that 70% of traffic goes through Google or Facebook, links to an article that's from Newsweek, which links to a tweet from a guy who wrote an article, which links to some data, and the data is actually that Google and Facebook in 2015 referred 70% of the traffic to major publishers in the United States.
Referral.
So
they posted links.
It's a referral number, not 70% of the traffic on the internet.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is, I mean, they do. They refer a lot of.
No. I just know people might, even if they disagree with the post, might start passing that number around, and you should know what that number really means. Thank you, Justin Robert Young, for popping in. We appreciate it.
A pleasure. I'm always happy to be on the program.
TakePoliticsSeriously.com, folks, for more.
Thanks also to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on others at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you want to hang out on Facebook, we got a group, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
We might break it into two. I don't know. Let's check out the mailbag.
Let's do it. We got a long but very informative email from Mark. Mark is a scientist. He's studying Pluto and the outer solar system. Sounds like a great job. And has a really great breakdown on our University of California and Elsevier story from last week. Mark says there's two common pathways for publication. Elsevier, and I hope I'm saying that right, is an example of the first pathway. Their practice is that an author doesn't have to pay a fee to get their work published. Once the work is published, Elsevier owns that published content and charges for access. Now, Elsevier is in the business of making money from research like Mark's, and the profit against access. So over the past few decades, the cost of access has grown so much that many institutions are cutting back on subscriptions. As subscriptions decline, the costs increase even more. Also, Elsevier charges a lot more money for the back catalog than for more recent work. Kind of interesting. I used to publish in the Elsevier publication Icarus, but after a while, I realized that my older work was no longer widely accessible by the community and ceased sending my work there.
Now, he goes on to add that the other pathway is what he calls society-based journals. An example is the American Astronomical Society, who published a set of journals in astronomy. In this case, the publisher's not operated for profit. Publishing costs are covered by page charges, where the author pays a fee to the journal upon publication. Distribution is covered by subscriptions, but anything older than 3 years is freely accessible. The recent arguments, according to Mark, are that since scientific research is paid from public funds, the results should always be freely available. Note that the compromise with Elsevier that UC should pay up front make them act much more like the society-based journals than the profit-based journals. One final point is that peer review system is fueled by volunteer efforts. When I review a paper, I do not get paid by any journal to do this work, says Mark. This donation of time makes a lot of sense when talking about an open access nonprofit model, but it feels more like exploitation in the for-profit case. Thank you, Mark, for the explanation of that. That was very balanced and informative. Appreciate it.
Very much so.
All right, let's check in with Len Peralta, who has been illustrating today's show. Len, what have you drawn for us this week?
Sure. That Medium post by Elizabeth Warren felt a lot like a smackdown, didn't it? A little bit like a smackdown. And that's exactly what I decided to draw here. It's Elizabeth Warren It's a WW War-ren Raw taking down Google, Amazon, and Facebook with a chair. It looks pretty awesome, man. And I'd go to this wrestling event, the SmackDown. Yeah, it's awesome. And so if you want this, you can go right now, become one of my $5 patrons, and it's yours. It's right there, right now, actually. And or you can go to my online store at lenperaltastore.com, and you can buy it that way, the old-fashioned way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Len.
Oh,
and
you're
thanks
welcome.
also to Brian Brushwood. I know you've got a big weekend ahead of you. Let folks know how they can participate.
South by So Wasted. You're running out of time. You can't buy tickets the day of, but you can show up at the door. March 9th, 1:30 p.m. at the North Door on Brushy Road, named after me, near 5th and 35. Justin Robert Young live there. Ice Cream Social going to be there. Dual Core. Guy out of Buffalo's own Jomo and the Possum Posse. We are in the home stretch of a guess what sold out experience. You guys come on out. It's going to be great.
Our goal each month right here on Daily Tech News Show is one more patron than last month. So please help us get to that goal by becoming a patron and a member of Daily Tech News Show at patreon.com/DTNS.
You can write us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is our email address. If you want to join us live, it's Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
I'll be gone Monday traveling, but Lamarr Wilson will be here with Sarah Lane to keep you company. They'll talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show, you guys. Thank you, Justin.
Good show.
Dude, Justin
Always
swooping
a
in with that
pleasure.
gravitas, man. Just laying down how it is and why.
Can tell you do it every day.
Every day. Yeah, no.
That ain't no joke, man.
This is and for those of you, we kind of did the opposite. Like Brian and Tom were on the Politics Extra podcast that you get if you're a $3 patron, where we did a lot of the tech talk, a lot of the basics on for the politics crowd. We did the tech talk, and then I came on and did the politics talk for the tech crowd. So if you want the other side of the conversation, go ahead and check that out.
Brought the P to the T, and then the T to the P.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole bunch of TP.
In the best possible way. Title, showbot.chatrealm.net. I like, is it best to break up big tech? ? That's a good one. Breaking Tech, Better Call War-ren. Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. I get it. It's good.
All right. That's good.
Show me the money. A lot of cashless stuff in. Breaking up is hard to do. Breaking tech into bits. Get it? Like bits. Sarah, any of these striking your fancy?
I think probably.
Brian?
Much like a certain movie I saw last night, I have no public opinion.
Yeah, Sarah?
The War-ren on tech. That's pretty good.
A War-ren on tech. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. Like the war on tech.
Right.
Done.
The on twice.
Oh, I don't know.
We
Was
do
it?
a War-ren tech, or does that not?
Yeah, no, that reads.
Does that read?
Yeah.
How about if you take out on and just leave?
Yeah,
the
that's
War-ren?
what we said. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. That's the hive mind.
Do you have to put some kind of like spacer and like?
I
like
mean,
an-
you
I'll put
could
War-ren.
use a
Yeah,
hyphen.
I'll put
I
a
guess.
hyphen. I'm gonna use the hyphen.
War-ren Tech. The War-ren Tech.
The War-N tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Oh, on big tech, right? Or it's just tech?
Oh, the war on big tech. Yeah, I think that actually helps the rhythm of it.
Yeah. The War-ren big tech. Yep.
We've
done.
Nailed it.
We have workshop
Nailed it.
Beatmaster's title. Thank
Fighting
you,
by
Beatmaster.
committee makes everything great.
Yeah, the more
Just go to the
credits you
movies
see
to-
on a movie, the better it is. Always true.
Everyone knows
New
that.
paragraph. Hey, I sent my daughter to go see a movie today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I wanted her to tell me if it was good or not.
Okay, all right.
We'll find out. She's on an away mission.
Does it play to the teens? We will find out soon. I assume it's your teenage daughter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Very, very excited to find out. Also very excited for the show tomorrow.
Have you thought about what your story is going to be?
Oh, I am doing the thumb of the stories. Are you also going to call on me for a story? Because
seems like all of us should play the game. The bull's there to be ridden.
It depends. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't force him to do it.
Out.
He's gonna be the thumb sheriff.
Speaking of which, I think that we're gonna move the Whiskey Tribe boys to Night Attack since they know us and we know what we're planning to do.
Yeah.
And they will award first prize whiskey drink, second prize whiskey drink, a third prize whiskey drink, and everybody else who is a loser has to have Fireball.
Oh, gotcha.
But the fireballs are so good.
Okay.
Like that's not even like
you gotta understand. That is the worm turned on Fireball. The kids love it.
Sure. They also love Tide Pods, which is remarkable because it tastes.
But you guys hate cinnamon or something? Like a Fireball is like the best shot you can have.
No, it tastes like what's the chewing gum? Big Red.
Big Red.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Big Red.
Big Red. You got to be a serial killer.
I would disagree. Fireball is to my tongue gross, but then again, I'm of an age that I enjoyed Jägermeister. So what do I know?
Jaeger's good too. Okay, so
that's a shot I don't want.
I actually like Fireball. I just like digging on Fireball slightly more than I like Fireball.
Yeah, good point.
That's fair.
What about Fernet? How do we feel about Fernet?
Do you even know what Fernet is?
Yeah,
because I did not.
They kept mentioning how dangerous it was.
No, because I had no idea what Fernet was until I moved to the Bay Area.
No, I actually don't know.
It's a Bay Area staple for some reason. Fernet is widely beloved in the Bay Area and not other places.
It is apparently the only two places for which Fernet is tremendously popular is Italy and the Bay Area.
Well, North the Italians brought it in, right?
Is that it? Yeah.
That's my guess.
I'm a Fernet fan personally.
I think it's fine.
But you got to be careful with it. Got to be careful.
Like wait. I mean, but who's chugging Fernet? Like I can't imagine somebody loving it that much.
Meet some of my friends.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I used to say the same thing about Ouzo. Who drinks it?
Oh yeah.
I love Ouzo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pretty much like all shots except Jägermeister. So
I'm okay with the Jaegs.
It's that licorice.
That anise.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if y'all caught this, and Len explained it, but just in case it's sped by you, when he does the art on Fridays now, if you're one of his patrons, you get it as soon as the show is over, like before the show is over. Like it's instant art.
It's up there right now. Yeah.
So that's the best way to get the DTNS art is
super quick. Yeah.
Is it patreon.com/Len, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. They just like if you're a Len supporter,
it's almost like they're sitting right here and I hand them the art.
Digitally hand them the art.
It's a handoff. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty neat.
I like it. Go check it out. So, you seen any good movies lately?
I have no public opinion.
I'll watch it when it's available.
Not what your Twitter said last night.
Yeah, I noticed.
2 a.m. threads.
I mean, I'm not responsible for any of that. That's not even.
That's not Brian Brushwood.
I was hacked.
That's right. You know, sometimes I got kids. Sometimes they pick it up and they have very specific opinions.
That's Ryan Rushwood.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, I slated at that karaoke bar last night. The Legend of Beechwood was a real thing.
It was, yeah. We got done with watching a movie that we can neither confirm nor deny that we saw, and then we went to the only bar open around these bars, and it turned out to be karaoke night, and Brian got things fired up.
It was a little sleepy.
What's your song, Brian? What's your go-to song?
Mr. Roboto. Look, I time travel straight from 1982 to the present to explain to you the clear and present danger of Japanese technology taking over our lives.
You are the modern man.
Modern.
What's great is when that happens, it's like I'm performing definitely just for Justin, but everybody be, maybe 15 people in the whole place. First, you just see one head kind of look up and turn around, then another, then another. It was pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute blast.
Good times had by all. And now it's going to rain for days and days.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. That's what they're saying.
Not on Sunday.
Oh, except for the moment when the sun will just come out brightly.
It's
right?
called Sunday, Tom, not rain day.
Yeah, they'd be prosecuting fraud.
That's right.
If it rained on Sunday.
I went to speak to the calendar commission.
Yeah, apparently, so it's going to start raining tonight at like 11, and then should be done by 10,
gonna be
10 in the morning.
men.
10 in the morning on Saturday.
The Men of Ice Cream Social.
For the first time in history.
Oh, good. I can do my crying.
Hey,
yes.
So, you know, I'm going to need your help on that VIP tour. I'm going to need a hype man to put in perspective all the stories.
Yeah,
I know you've done some homework.
I'll have to brush up on some of the
brush up.
Yeah,
you need to figure out the order of who owned it.
That's an ongoing quest. Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
You need to say according to our best records and
staff historians have said.
Yeah. Like we are still efforting, but to the best of our knowledge, it was blank, then blank, then blank.
Research indicates at this point.
It's actually kind of cool the way that Bryce has that shot set up with Brian in the middle, because it looks like you're talking to a very diminutive Justin Robert Young, like you're a giant.
Yeah.
I'm so small. I'm a baby.
Yes. Man, that's all stuff we'll have to figure out at the new space as well. Like not only what the background looks like, but how to position stuff that we're able to see the output monitor and the crowd, the chat.
A lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean that is what the list of things to do is. Yeah. To put all the stuff we've got and position it somewhere.
Oh, speaking of all the things we got, thank you, video watchers, for sticking with us this week. Well, Tom,
you are not just the thing we got. You're our pals.
You guys are awesome. All right.